If you're seriously thinking of giving up on learning a foreign language, that's because you missed this one important step that would have made everything easier. And I'm about to show you how to build it and get you back on track. The vast majority of people quit learning a foreign language before they even make it out of the beginner stage. In fact, 90% of all learners will never complete their online courses, including language courses, and most will drop out during the very first lessons when grammar and vocab start kicking in. They start strong, but they burn out easily. How many times have you thought, this is so difficult? This is much more difficult than I expected it to be. I'm not seeing any progress. The effort isn't worth it. I'm done. Screw this Spanish, English, German, Japanese, whatever you're trying to learn. And so you stop. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're incapable. It's because you missed this one fundamental step before you embarked on your language learning journey. The step: building a deep emotional connection with the language that you're about to learn. And I'm not talking about this surface level, I need this for work type of motivation, not mere willpower. I'm talking about a real deep tie with the language, with the culture, that will make your motivation stick, that will prevent it from crumbling at the very first sight of a complex exercise. A connection that stays, a connection that grows, and makes the process of learning a foreign language feel not like a chore, but something that you own. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to build that connection. And by exactly, I mean I'll be giving you 8 concrete steps that you can take to build this strong foundation that will help you stick around even in the most difficult times. I speak 4 languages. Russian is my first language, then English, Spanish, and German. And with English and Spanish, I unknowingly did the right thing. I immersed myself into the culture. I got connected with the language, with the sound, with all the beautiful things that it has to offer before I opened my first notebook. But with German, I jumped right in. No personal bond, no connection with the culture. I began straight up with the exercises and the vocabulary. And it's been an uphill battle ever since. I've been on and off, I've quit learning it, then I went back, and it took me probably 3 times as long to get to the intermediate level back in the days than it did with English and Spanish. With English and Spanish, it was never a grind. It was a pleasant journey despite all the difficulties and not the unicorns and butterflies the whole time anyway. But with German, I suffered, and I want you to avoid it. Here's the thing: even if you choose to learn the language because it sounds really nice or because you think it will help you find a better job in the future, this may not be enough, because 1 or 2 reasons isn't a foundation strong enough to really hold at time of a language challenge earthquake. This foundation needs layers: meaningful, personal, emotional. And if you're learning the language out of obligation, let's say you moved or you're learning it for your spouse's family, or maybe you need it for work, then you need this foundation even more. Then it needs to be even stronger. You really need to work it through. Because if it's not your choice, the only way to go forward is to make it yours. So how do you build this emotional connection? Explore the culture before learning the language. Don't open a textbook yet. Listen to the music that comes from a country where this language is spoken. Watch a movie made in that country. Even if the movie is in your language, let yourself understand the humor, the gestures, the way people express themselves. Just sit down and enjoy at this point. Do not do any exercises. Just enjoy the culture, even if it is not in the original language. And try their food. Food is such a strong connector. Find someone you connect with. It could be an actor, a singer, or a creator, maybe an Instagrammer or a YouTuber, somebody that speaks this language as their first language, and whose voice, whose manners, whose way of being inspires you and really draws you to the language. Feeling an attachment, even this platonic attachment, to this one person, not necessarily of the opposite sex, although you can absolutely get yourself a celebrity crush if you're single, right? That won't hurt. But even if it's, person that inspires you or person that you admire, this will help you build that connection with the language too. For me, as I was learning English, for example, those connectors were Mike Shinoda and Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. Apart from the amazing music, I loved how they spoke, their voices, their rhythm, their pronunciation. All of that made me think, okay, that's how I want to sound. And that was what moved me. Use your ears before your brain. Before you try to understand anything, before you learn your first word, try to just listen to the language. Try to listen to the sound. Just let it flow. Listen to conversations, interviews, podcasts, music. Music is perfect for that. Don't try to understand any words. Just try to enjoy the sound of that language. Let yourself get used to how it's pronounced, how it sounds, before you put on yourself that pressure of actually trying to understand anything that's being said. Absorb the rhythm, the tone, the melody. That's not studying, that's immersion. If you don't like how the language sounds, look deeper. Again, we don't all choose to learn a language. Sometimes it's the circumstances. And it could be that you just don't like how the language sounds. Well, first of all, check maybe there are other variations of the language. Let's say if you don't like the Castilian Spanish, then you're actually in luck because there's so many other countries where this language is spoken where it sounds totally different. So maybe you would prefer Peruvian or Argentinian or Mexican dialect. For me, it was the Castilian Spanish right away. That was the one that I liked the most, the sound of which I enjoyed the most. So for me, it was an easy choice, but I would totally understand that some people say, okay, I don't like the lisp. Go out there, check what other countries speak this language. Let's say if it's Germany, you don't like how the German from Germany sounds, there's Switzerland, there's Austria. And if there's only one country, there's only one dialect, there's only one variation of a language, you can still like it. And here's the trick. Almost any language sounds better in music. So even if you don't like it when you hear two people talking, or if you've heard a couple of people and you thought, oh, not sure if I'm convinced, listen to the music in this language, especially in a combination with a voice that you like. It just changes the game. Dialects vary, accents vary, personalities vary. Just try to find the right one that clicks. If you're finding this video helpful so far, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Here I actually speak quite a lot about languages and how to make learning languages easier. I'm sharing tips and tricks. Although another big topic on this channel is Spain and life in Spain and the non-textbook Spanish. In fact, if you are learning Spanish, you will find this channel very resourceful to build this language connection and motivation. Discover people's real stories with the language. Listen to the interviews of people who learned this language as a foreign language, not native speakers, but people who already took this journey and whose life changed thanks to the language. Hear their experience. Maybe they found a dream job or the love of their life. Let yourself be inspired by those stories. And who knows, maybe one day you'll share your own with the world. Travel, even if it's just once. There is nothing like being physically present in the place where this language is predominant. Unfortunately, not everybody can afford to travel to the country where this language is spoken, but if you can do it, it will be the fastest and probably the most inspiring way to get energized for the journey. Now, if you just sit in a cafe, listen to the people converse around you, maybe avoid touristy areas, go to local bars, Soak in the music playing overhead. Let yourself observe people interact. Let the culture reach you. Put your phone aside and enjoy the moment. Let yourself be immersed. Suddenly, the language isn't abstract anymore. It feels like something real. Set up a small language corner at home. Create this little space that you will be filling in with the items representing the language and culture. It could be a photo or a postcard from a city in that country, a book in that language, maybe a little souvenir. And if you've just traveled to that country, you'll probably have a bunch of stuff to put in that corner. It's symbolic, it's mentally preparing you for that journey. Think of it like setting the stage before the show begins. Romanticize your future self using that language. Close your eyes and visualize yourself already speaking that language. Imagine walking through a market in Buenos Aires and ordering stuff in Spanish, or coffee and a croissant in perfect French, or making someone laugh in Japanese. See it, feel it, romanticize this new version of yourself that you're definitely going to achieve. And this is actually so cool because every language that you learn gives this little tweak to your personality. It adds, and I even noticed that I am somewhat a different person when I speak English or when I speak Spanish or German or Russian. My personality changes a little bit. And the more languages you learn, the more of these little sides to yourself you will discover. So certainly think of it beforehand. Think about learning about yourself even more. Build emotional variety. As I mentioned earlier, don't rely on just one reason. No matter how strong it may seem today, if it's no longer valid tomorrow, everything caves in. Let's say if you realized that where you live, this language isn't giving you any advantages in the job market and you don't have any other emotional ties with this language, then you're going to have a very difficult time continuing. But if it was the job opportunities and it was the music and it was the food and it was that one superstar that you absolutely love and admire, and every time that you move around at home, you see that little altar or corner, like a little reminder of your amazing trip that you took to that place a couple of years ago. It will help you stay strong and it will help you go through difficult times. So, when should you do all of that? Ideally, before you start, before you open your first textbook, before you go through your first exercise, because let's be honest, that's when most people give up. The very first lessons hit and it's confusing, it's frustrating, it's more difficult than you expected, and a lot of people get discouraged. But had they built that foundation, they would have stayed in the game. However, if you didn't do that back in the days and now you're struggling, it's not too late. My recommendation would be to, of course, you can do it in parallel if you have enough time, to do those exercises, learn that vocabulary, but at the same time, set some time aside to absorb the music and maybe travel and get yourself on track with the motivation. However, probably most of us don't have that luxury of, having the time to do both things. So in this case, if you can, stop everything you're doing. Make a pause for about 2-3 weeks until you feel like you've got that motivation back, that foundation is strong again. Step away from those flashcards, those vocabulary drills, those difficult exercises. Again, watch a movie in your language. That's totally okay, but watch a movie made in that country in your language. Give yourself a chance to just love the language and then go back to what you were doing. And it will make a huge change. Once again, you'll feel like you're not dragging yourself, that it comes naturally. And even if it feels like I can't, I can't lose 2 weeks or 3 weeks on this, it will be worth it. Now, don't get me wrong. Even if you've done everything correctly, right? Even if you've followed all of these 8 steps plus the bonus, it doesn't mean that now you're just gonna easily go through the journey without doubting it for even a day. It's not like that. You'll still be discouraged. You'll still be running into exercises that are impossible to complete and the grammar rules that are impossible to understand and that make no sense. And, just sitting in a group of people speaking in the language and not understanding a thing when you think you had it. And that's totally fine. But the difference is that you've done your work. You've done everything you could to make sure you stay in the game when those difficult times come. It will be a great investment. Trust me, you'll never regret it. So, what language are you learning? And what's been your motivation so far? Maybe you can share a few other tricks that I haven't mentioned in this video on how to make the motivational foundation stronger. I would love to learn about it. Sometimes I need to take those 2, 3 weeks, even with English and Spanish and German, to reconnect with the language. From time to time, I really recommend to do that, revisiting the work that you did in the past. So yeah, share your methods, your tips and tricks, and let's exchange our experience. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.